Hello everyone, in this video I'll show you how to build a very simple but nice image generation website with HTML and CSS, specifically Tailwind CSS. So let us look at what we are going to build. This is what we are going to build. Very simple in design, it's very nice. And it will help you learn a thing or two, especially if you are a beginner. It's completely responsive also. So jump into the next session where we start building this from complete scratch. I am here in the folder where I want to create my project, and you can see one folder here, images, which contains a background image. A picture I'll be using for the background. You can use any picture of your choice. But if you still want to use this image, it should be available in the source code in the description. You can check the link in the description below. So I'll right click and then open in terminal. If you're on Windows and that option is not available for you, you can just click here at the address and type cmd. When you press enter, the command prompt will open for you in that directory, but I still prefer this Windows terminal. And if you're on any other operating system, you should be able to open your terminal in a particular directory. The first thing is to type code dot to open Visual Studio Code in this directory. And the next one is, obviously we are using Tailwind CSS, so we have to do the installation of the Tailwind CSS. So quickly come to the documentation. And here you can click on the get started, and you see there's a couple of commands that we just have to. This one will install the Tailwind CSS for us. So let's just copy it and then paste it in. If the npm install doesn't work for you, then probably you don't have Node.js installed. So make sure you check nodejs.org, and then you download the recommended for most users. Okay, that one is done. Let's see the changes that have taken place in our HTML VS Code. You see that it has the node modules, which contains all those ones for Tailwind CSS, and then all the node packages that will be necessary for the project. And this Tailwind config.js file here is, if you check the documentation, is where we state all the files that will contain our template files, or where we write our CSS classes or Tailwind CSS classes. And because we are only using HTML, we can just say star.html. That means all the HTML files, you should check for them and then copy the Tailwind CSS classes for them and build them for us. The next thing that we have to do is to create a main CSS file and then paste this inside it. And so let's come here. Usually called input, but we can also call it main.css. I prefer the input. And then paste this one in there. Okay, I didn't copy it well. Paste it in there. Then let's save it. The next is to now start the build process. So the code is quite long, but let's type it ourselves. We just say npx tailwind CSS, and then we input file flag, which should be the main file that we are working with. In our case, in my case, is the input.css. If you give it a new name or a different name, just make sure you put that name there. And then the -o for the output file that will be generated, which we will call style.css. You can give it any other name also. And we have to pass this what if, so that anytime we make changes, it will build it for us and we don't have to come and run this command every time. Okay, so it says no utility classes were detected, but that's okay because we know that the building also actually is done. We can close our terminal for now, and then create our HTML file, so index.html, and then with this boilerplate, we can change the name here to say image generator or anything that is appropriate. Let's link our CSS file, so link CSS, and then if you give it a different name instead of the style.css, make sure that you put that one too there. And then inside the body, let's just give an h1 that says welcome. And then let's test our CSS classes, Tailwind classes, whether they are working. And so we can say class equal to say maybe font bold. We can make it text 5 XL, and then text blue to just see whether it's working. Okay, so when we save it, I'm using the live server extension. You can just come here and type live server like this, and that should give you the access to the live server extension. And one of the plugins or extensions that is also very useful, especially for Tailwind CSS development, is this Tailwind CSS Intelligence. Make sure you have it if you are using Tailwind CSS. So I think I have the port running, but let me open it again. And now we know that our Tailwind CSS classes are working, because if I change this one to text red and save it, it should immediately change. And that immediate change is due to the live server extension. Okay, so let me put the browser and the code editor side by side so that we know what we are doing at every point in time. I will not delete this text because we may need it again. And for the body, the class, remember the background color. For this one, I've not opened the previous one for comparison, but still build it. The background was a gradient, so we can say BG gradient, and this one is to top right, to right, to bottom right, but I'll choose the bottom right. And then after that, you have to tell it from which color to which color. So and then this one is a custom color, and I got from the internet. So that is AA076B. And then we declare the color, to color also, it's a gradient. So from which color to which color. That one too, I got from the internet, to 61045F. Okay, when we save it, we should see some changes here, but you see that it's also repeating itself. So we have to give a couple other classes also. What will solve this one for us is minimum H screen. That should say that when you put your cursor on it, it should even tell you the class. So the minimum height should be 100% the viewport height, and that solved the issue for us. But we also want it to be flexed, and then we want it to flex column. Because by default, the Tailwind CSS flex this row. I'm very sure about that one. And we can also see the item center. I want to keep everything at the center. And a gap of 6 between the title and then the body of the image generation and output div. So gap of 6. Justify center. And maybe a padding of 10 should do. Yes. And also, so when we save it, it brings the welcome to the center for us, and that is great. This welcome, let's change it to enter your prompt below to generate your image. But the font will not be 5XL, that is quite large. So 3XL should do. And it should be font bold, we can maintain that one. But the text will not be text red 600, it should be text white. And then text center, you can ignore the center for now, but if you save it now, it's that enter your prompt below to generate your image. But there's a background. The finished one is a background of white, opacity of 10, and we can give it some padding, say 4. round the edges, maybe rounded XL should do, and backdrop is a background blur. We have to want to blur the background, so that should be background or backdrop. I think it's backdrop rather. Backdrop blur. Pick any of them. Any of them should do. It may not really be visible, especially with this one, but if there's a background like another design, you could have actually seen that the blur is there. You can choose to ignore it, but I just brought it there. And you see how the text is. That's why I wanted to initially make a text center so that it will center it correctly for us. So that part we know also is done. The next is to build a div that contains the image itself, the prompt for the image generation and the image that has been generated. So I can just say dots and say flex. Obviously, there will be a flex class also there. So inside that, we can just say flex, and then the background is a background white, but this one is 70%. Alpha is 70, and then we can also give it a class of flex column. By default, I said that the flex of Tailwind CSS is a row, but on the mobile first, it's also a mobile first framework. So whatever we type should first apply to the mobile. Then we can use the MD, LG, and all those ones to define the behavior on other screens. So that is why it's supposed to be a flex column, the prompts, and then the generated image. Initially to be a flex column, that's why. And then we can say the padding of 4. I don't really think we'll see anything. Okay, it's just the box because that's the only content that there's no content, that is why it is doing that. Rounded XL. We want the W, so full width, so W-4. And on the LD, on the last screen, or maybe we can ignore that for now, then I'll do it practically for you. But on the medium screens, upward, we want the width to be 80%, so 4 and 5. So you see that it takes the full width. The height, we leave it to whatever thing that is in. So the height of whatever is in there should, I think, for now. Okay. I think we forgot one class. The justify between. Or let me even show you why I'll make it justify between. So that it will be a little more friendly for the beginners. Yeah. And so the first one that we are doing is the prompt, which we want to make it a form. The form, the method is post. And the action, we can forget about that one for now. So it will also have an H1 that will tell us enter prompt below. Let's save it, and you see that's how it appears. But let's give it some classes to make it nice. So the class of this one should be text, and the color of this text, let's pick the background color here, this one. You can just copy this and then paste it in, and you can use the color to this one for us. And let's just give it some sizes also. Font, semi-bold, and then let's make the text extra large. So text XL. That is way better. After the H1, then there comes the text area, or the input text area. The name of this should be prompt. ID, we can also make it prompt. And then let's add our own class here. When we save it now, you see that it just comes in here. So the class, or let's give it a placeholder first. So the placeholder says enter image description here. And it should also be a required field. Required. Now let's apply the class. We want it full width and full height, so w-full, h-full. We also want to give it a text of extra large, and then a padding of 3, rounded. This one, let's make it LG. Let's save it and see progress. So we see that it takes the full width, and these two are so close to each other. All right, let's just finish with this one, then we come to that one. Rounded LG. You see this small resize here that you can use to resize. We want to take it off. So you can just say resize none. That will take it off. Will not allow the user to resize it. To still keep our thing nice and intact. But you saw that if I click on it, that means if it's focused, this outline, we don't really like the black, so we can do something about it. Say focus, that means what happens when it is focused, like I did. We want to say outline none. We don't want an outline when it is focused. But when it is focused, we actually want some small border, so we can just also say focus, border, radius of 2, and another focus. And then now we have to define the border color. So that should be border. And then we paste in the color. Maybe we can use one of these again. When we save it and we focus, we still have the border, but not the black one. But in VS Code, I can just hover over this color here and try and bring the opacity down. Okay, I think I made it too much. Okay, so something like this is nicer than the thick black one. But I don't want it to. I just want to add some small like transition to it. So we can just say duration. Here I will choose 100, and then we see the style is ease in out. Sorry. Easing out. That yes, there will be some styling, but you can see that the two are very close together, and that is because we didn't give any classes to our form. So for the form to the class should be flex column, and then let's give a gap of 5, and then width also to be 4, so w-4. That gives some nice separation for us. But if I make this large, you see that it's actually taking the whole width, and that is because here we told it that on from the medium screen breakpoint going should be 4/5 for 80% of the width, and so it's always 80% like this. Let's now add the other ones and then see how we go about this ones. After the text area in the form, the next is the submit button. So button, and here we can say the type is a submit. Okay. Let's give it some classes also. Let's put the name there first. So the name is generate image. Okay. Now is there, we have to now style it. The background for this button should be one of these also. So this one. You can say BG and then dash, paste that one there. That gives it the background for us. The text should be white. Font bold. And then a padding of 3 should do. Let's also give it some rounded edges. So rounded LG, and it's in nice. I think the text should be extra large also, so text XL. Yes, far better. So let's now apply some hover effects to our button also. So let's just first define the transition. So ease in, out, duration. This one's duration will be 1000. So I want it to take 1 second. I think. Yes, 1000 milliseconds. And then on hover, I want to scale it down to 98%. So scale it to 98%. When I put my mouse on it, so that it slowly scales down to 98%. And I also want to give it a shadow when it's on hover. So on again hover, and I can say shadow 2XL. Okay, not so visible, but I think you should notice it at your side, and that is okay. And on hover, I want to change the background color. I just bring it down a bit, so I just have to copy this here. But try and bring it down just a little bit. Okay, I think I actually did it too much. Okay, now I think we have this side completed. There shouldn't be anything for us to do here again. Okay, so let's see how it behaves also on large screens. Yes, now what we have to do is to add the other parts, and then we are done. Okay, so after the form, which was the prompt, then we have the image. So the image or generated image, let me make it so, generated image. That one is not a form, it's a div. So we can also give it a class of flex, as usual, flex column. A gap of 5. We also want to give it, I think that one, I'll hold on to it for now, so that you really get it. And inside here, we can give an img. Oh no, we have to say your generated image first. So H1, your generated image. That is very close to it, so we can give it a margin top of about 10. And that is why I held on to it. I wanted to know why I'm giving the margin top. This will apply for the small screens. But we wanted that such that from the small screen breakpoint upward, the margin top must be 0. Okay. For this one, the text, no, sorry, the class, so the text color should be what we copied there. And then not text BG, it's just the text itself. And then font, semi-bold, and the text XL. Just like the first one. Okay. After that, we now bring in our image. The top of this image should be images / background image. The alternative will be generated image. Okay, when we save it, see that it comes in there, fine. But let's just view how it will appear on larger screens. You see that it is still flex of column, which is not what we want to do. So we will come up here. After the body, you see there's the H1 that says enter prompt below. The one that follows is this div, which houses the prompt and the image. So we can say here that on larger screens, make it a flex row. So on larger screens, flex row, and that should solve it for us. Let's see. Is that when we hit the last screen breakpoint, it just made it a flex of row. And when it happens like that, you see that there's no gap between them, which we can also easily fix. I'm sorry I have to go up and down, but I think if I get to it and tell you why I'm making it a flex row, to rather make you understand than in the beginning just putting flex row there. That may not be so beginner friendly. So forgive me, but I don't think it should be too difficult to follow. So the place where we have to give the gap is this div that counts also the prompt here. So we can say the gap. Let's try 5. That will give it even on the small screen. So we can just say LG gap of 5. So I've already spacing there, I think so. So now we see that it spaces out for us nicely for us. Okay, that's great. Now let's continue. We have a class of, we want to take the full width, and then we also wanted to have some rounded corners. So rounded, we can't always guarantee that the size will be 50%, even though it appears that it's 50-50 for now. But let's just put a restriction here on one of them, either the image or the prompt, but I think we should put it on the images div. Where is that one? Here. We have to tell you that on large screens, the width of this one is the maximum that it can go. The width should be 1/2. It appears to be, but in some cases where the image so large, it might throw problems. I think probably we have declared it somewhere already, maybe on the prompts. No. Let's say LG here, 2-1 on 2. Sorry. Okay, so I know that they all take 50% and no one is cheating. Let's now continue with our image. And the only thing we have to do now is to give the image description down here and then the download button, which we would like to put in another flex. So after the img, with a class of flex, and a gap of 2. The P that one we just copied again, so text, and then we paste it. So it's not text BG, it's text of this color, and then the font should be bold. Also, so one, the is here, and then afterwards you just put a span, and then you can just say your, just like the finished product or your image description. So I put this in the span is you come to style it differently. The color should be the same, but the width should come down. So that should be class of this one. That's the description will be here on that one. So your image description here. Then the next one is the download button. Remember there's this generate button here. We can be like the same, so we can just copy the class here. And then come here and then leave it for now. But you can just paste the class in here like this. But because we use this link for download, you can just say download like this before we paste the classes. Then here, download image. And I think we have to add a couple of classes to this one. Let's make it flex, justify, center, so that we can bring the text to the center here. Great. Okay, but you see the finished product had a download icon here, which we can access from hero icons to heroicons.com. Just type heroicons.com in your browser. And then here, you see that it says beautifully handcrafted SVG icons by the makers of Tailwind CSS. You can set for download here. You want a solid one, but this one that we are even interested in, not really changing in the solid state. So click here that says copy SVG, and then before or after. Let's make it after. Then you paste. I didn't copy. Why didn't it copy? Okay, now it's copied. Now I paste it there, and I save. Come back. That is down there. I pasted it at the wrong place. Okay, it should be inside the A tag itself. So after the download image, then paste it. It should be inside the A tag. This is not what the one I wanted to. Let me just delete this. Is this one that I want? Yes. Okay. So this SVG has its own classes, and there's one that I'm looking for. That would have helped us get it how thick or how big it should be. So I don't know why it is not here, but we can add it ourselves to say stroke dash width, and then we can set this one equal to say 3. Why is not allowing us that way? Or because we chose the. Let me bring it out there from the outline and see. Okay, so under the not the solid but the outline, you see that there's even the stroke width there, so that we can manipulate how thick the width is. So let's make this one 3, and then it becomes bigger for us. But it's too close to the download image. So what I want to do is after I can just see a gap of say 3, and that should separate them for me. Let me see if item center will do something I'm thinking about right now. Okay, so that brought it down a bit. If you didn't want it like that, you can still leave it this way. Let's just preview it and see. Okay, so it all looks good to me. And this is how we build this amazing front end with Tailwind CSS. And if you are looking forward to take this a step further and add a backend to it, a Django backend, then, or any other backend, probably there will be other ones to follow, but the Django should be the first. Then check the link in the description. As soon as that video is ready, I'll upload it, so you can check the link in the description and take this one a step further to build your own image generation website. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up It really gives me motivation to create amazing content. And if you have any issues, be sure to put them in the comment section and I'll come back to address it. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll see you another time with another video. Bye for now.